The light here doesn't rise, it awakens. Two suns hover over a horizon of moving glass, spilling waves of gold and sapphire across a sea that isn't made of water, but of something denser, more alive. From a distance it looks like liquid crystal, rippling in slow motion, reflecting the twin orbs above. The air shimmers with ions, carrying a faint hum, a heartbeat you can feel in your bones. The planet breathes, and somewhere beneath those twin suns the ocean stirs. The wind drifts low, soft and charged, carrying particles that flash like dust made of diamonds. When it touches the skin, if one could call it skin, it leaves a faint warmth like being kissed by starlight. The sky arches wider than the imagination, colored in a spectrum no human eye was built to see. Hues that hover between violet and silver, bleeding softly into turquoise clouds that float not above, but within the ocean itself. This is a place where water doesn't fall from the sky. It rises, dances, and then descends again like glowing mist. Beneath the surface, the ocean is not empty. It pulses with a life that moves in patterns, like thoughts rippling through a dream. Long ribbons of light slither through the depths, creatures built of transparency and electricity, bending the current as they move. Some drift lazily, others dart fast enough to fracture light into rainbows. Each one carries its own rhythm, its own vibration, a biological song that the planet seems to hum back in resonance. And in the shallows, coral-like towers rise high, not pink or red but mirrored and metallic, reflecting both suns like spires of frozen lightning. Small glass-bodied creatures nestle within them, feeding on the drifting ions, flickering like fireflies caught in tidewater. They communicate in bursts of bioluminescent code, their language woven into the sea itself. Watching them is like watching thoughts being born, color as emotion, light as meaning. The planet's gravity is soft, its pull almost kind. Waves move slower here, arcs higher, curling over themselves like silk. The ground beneath the ocean is magnetic stone, each ripple of tide charged with energy, every grain of sand humming quietly. When the tide rolls out, it leaves behind trails of shimmering dust that rearrange into perfect spirals, as if the sea itself has been writing messages to whoever dares to look closely. Far from the shore, something vast breaks the surface. A creature, neither fish nor whale, rises in slow grace, its body made of translucent layers that shimmer like molten glass. Its fins unfold into wing-like fans, scattering droplets of liquid light across the air. When it exhales, the sound is deep and resonant, like thunder whispered through a cathedral. The creature glides, turns once toward the horizon and descends again with the weight of eternity. The ocean swallows it in silence, and yet you can still feel its presence echoing beneath the waves. The air begins to hum again. The suns drift apart now, one climbing higher, one lowering into a darker shade of amber. Between their split, the sky bends, refracting light into long vertical columns that stretch to the ocean's floor. Within those columns, smaller beings drift, angelic shapes vaguely human, but made of pure luminescence. Their wings are not wings at all, but thin membranes of radiant mist that catch the charged air and keep them aloft. They move slowly as if time itself hesitates for them. These are the watchers of the ocean. Not divine, not holy, but old. They drift along the magnetic currents, guiding them, harmonizing them, keeping balance between the sun's energy and the sea's hunger. When storms rise, and they do, the watchers descend. You can see their forms ripple through the clouds, their bodies bending light, their eyes glowing with the same faint shimmer that the smallest plankton carry. Every scale of this world mirrors another, from the smallest spark to the greatest flame. The storms here are not violent. They are symphonies. They begin with a low pulse beneath the sea, a vibration that travels upward until it reaches the air. The surface of the ocean shivers, and the twin suns cast overlapping shadows that swirl together. Then lightning blooms underwater, violet and green arcs that leap between creatures like signals, a storm contained within the sea itself. Thunder follows, rolling like slow drums, never shattering, only vibrating the bones of the planet. And when the storm breaks, the world glows. Every living thing, from the smallest speck of biolight to the massive translucent leviathans, illuminates at once, as if answering a call. The watchers open their arms, and for a single moment light floods everything. It's impossible to tell where sky ends and sea begins. Even the air feels solid, humming, singing. In that glow, the planet reveals its true rhythm, one of exchange, not domination. Every spark feeds another. Every creature carries another's echo. Even the sand, those tiny magnetic grains, rearrange themselves in patterns that seem to match the pulse of the watcher's light. It's as if thought itself is a property of nature here, not born in minds but flowing through soil, air and tide. When darkness returns, it doesn't fall. It flows in, soft as velvet. The twin suns lower beyond the horizon, one silver, one gold, and in their place rises a third light, faint, ghost-like from beneath the ocean. It's the deep glow, a pulse from the planet's molten heart, radiating upward through translucent water. The sea becomes a mirror again, but this time reflecting inward, not out. Far below, where pressure crushes and silence reigns, another world exists. Cities of coral towers, alive, glowing faintly like embers under glass, stretch for miles. Between them swim smaller beings, some no bigger than a hand, others the size of mountains. They don't see with eyes. They sense the magnetic flow that runs through everything. They are not hunters, not prey, just participants in an eternal dance. Occasionally a watcher descends this deep. Down here their light bends blue, muted, reverent. They touch the coral spires gently, adjusting the current, aligning the rhythm, ensuring that the flow between the suns and the ocean heart remains pure. They never speak, not with sound, not with motion. But the coral responds, vibrating softly in return. It's communication beyond words, resonance instead of reason. Above, the atmosphere is changing color again. The smaller sun fades, leaving the larger one to glow blood orange. Its reflection turns the sea into molten bronze. Across the horizon, you can see flying creatures, translucent as thin paper shaped like stingrays and kites combined, gliding through the magnetized air. They feed on static energy, fluttering just high enough to brush against the aurora that forms where the sun's fields collide. Every movement they make leaves a trail of glowing particles, ribbons of memory written in the sky. On the western ridge, crystalline dunes stretch for hundreds of miles. Their surfaces glint with mineral veins that shift color with the angle of light. When the ocean's mist touches them, they hum. A soft, almost mournful sound like wind through a flute. That sound carries across the land, echoing off canyons of mirror stone, where liquid shadows pool in silence. Even here, far from the ocean, the planet's pulse is present, subtle, constant, alive. Sometimes, a humanoid figure stands among the dunes, tall, luminous, feathers shimmering faintly, eyes made of reflected suns. The locals, if one could call them that, call it the sentinel. It doesn't move often. It simply stands, facing the horizon, wings slowly folding and unfolding as the winds shift. Some say it guards the passage between the dunes and the ocean. Others say it's waiting, not for something to happen, but for the right alignment of sound and silence. At dusk, the sentinel finally moves. It steps forward, its body dispersing slightly into mist. The ground glows beneath its feet. It walks toward the ocean, and with each step, the sand behind it rearranges into spirals, the same pattern seen beneath the tides. When it reaches the shore, it kneels, dipping its hands into the crystalline water. Light blooms outward, spreading in rings until the entire coastline shines. The ocean hums back, mellow, deep, infinite. For a moment it feels as if the planet itself bows in respect. The smaller creatures gather near the shore, drawn by the resonance. Their bodies flicker in unison, colors pulsing like synchronized heartbeats. From above it must look like a living constellation, stars rearranged into waves, life moving as one. The watchers hover high, their wings stretched wide, their faces reflecting both suns. No one commands, yet everything moves together, instinct, harmony, the shared will of an ecosystem that has learned how to breathe in sync. As the night deepens, the ocean reveals one last secret. Beneath the surface, hidden currents begin to rise. The water thickens, glowing brighter with each surge. Then, like a heartbeat reversed, the deep light bursts upward, splitting the surface in a massive bloom of blue and gold. It's not an explosion, it's birth. Out of the light rises a shape, massive, graceful, radiant. The same creature seen before, the one made of glass and thunder. But now its form carries something new, smaller lights attached beneath its fins, moving independently. Offspring. The great being glides once around the ocean's edge, circling the dunes and cliffs before submerging again. The smaller ones follow. The watchers watch, unmoving. The sentinel lowers its wings. The storm has passed. the pulse has settled, and yet the air feels charged with renewal, like the pause after a song that no one dares to end.